You have a vision to open a center where children thrive and staff love to work. You have the passion, the will to make it happen. But here is the hard truth: passion doesn't pay the rent, and optimism won't keep you compliant. Research shows that new project leaders are prone to the planning fallacy, which is a tendency to underestimate the cost, risk, and time while vastly overestimating the benefits. Today, we are handing you the aspiring owner's blueprint. We're going to show you how to use neuroscience and SMARTIE goals to bypass the rookie mistakes that sink new centers before they even open. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Elevating ECE. Over the last few weeks, we've built a massive foundation covering brain development and even going into our vision, mission, goals, and even our core values. Now I'm speaking directly to the aspiring owners and entrepreneurs. You are likely in the complex novel quadrant of behavior change right now. According to the neuroscience of goals, this means you are attempting something that requires high motivation, which is the will, and high skill, which is the way. Most new owners have the will in spades. You've mastered that. But where most fail is in the way, which is the execution function skills like planning and inhibitory control and working memory required to execute a business plan. So, why is this hard? Because your brain wants to turn tasks into habits to save energy. That's how we're wired. But launching a business is all novel changes. You cannot run a startup on autopilot. You need a blueprint that offloads that mental effort into a system. Before you sign a lease or hire a director or begin to hire staff, you must immunize yourself against behavioral biases. The biggest enemy of the new owner is optimism bias. This isn't just having a positive attitude, it's a cognitive error where you involuntarily spin scenarios of success and overlook the potential for the mistakes. This leads to planning fallacy. You might think, I can get licensed in 3 months. The data suggests you should probably double that timeline and the budget. New owners often suffer from uniqueness bias, which is the belief that their project is so special that standard risks don't apply to them. So, how do you fight this? You need what researchers call the outside view, right? Don't just look at your business plan, look at the base rates of other centers. If 60% of new centers struggle with staffing in year one, assume that you will too and plan for it. As successful leaders practice, be a paranoid optimist. And so I like that because what it means is that you plan for the worst so that you can afford to be optimistic about the best. Now, let's get tactical. You need a cascading goal system for even from the beginning, from day one. We discussed this previously, but for a startup, this is actually your survival manual. Number one, your vision, right? This is a part of your cascading goals. Your now what I'm calling your survival manual. So number one is vision. This is your 5 day destination, right? It's your mountain peak. It's your pinnacle. However many years you want to assign to it, right? It may be 10 years. It may be 2 years, whatever vision that you have. But it's what you would like to see accomplished through the service that you provide to the community that you're in. So an example of a vision statement could be to be the premier nature-based center in the country, right? Or maybe in the county. We'll make it smaller, specific to your community. So you want to be the premier nature-based center in the county. And so number two, when you think about your mission, a mission is your daily compass, right? So if your vision tells you where you're going, your mission tells you how to get there, what you're doing, your action steps to get to that vision. So this is your daily, it acts as a daily compass for you. And so an example of this would be to provide high quality care to 50 local families, right? So a bit more specific. Now, number three is your strategic priorities. So these are your multi-year pillars like financial sustainability or staff excellence. These are things you want to work on an ongoing basis. Number four is your initiatives. These are the specific projects for year one, like secure your licensing or to launch your marketing campaign, right? So those are things that you may have as far as initiatives. It's very important to know that every dollar you spend and every hour you work needs to trace back up this chain, right? Ultimately, it needs to be moving you towards your vision, right? That pinnacle. So if it doesn't serve your mission, then don't do it. Very simply, it will save you time, it will save you money. If it doesn't align, then don't do it. Finally, do not make the mistake of thinking you will deal with equity and inclusion later, once you've already become established. That is like trying to put eggs back into a baked cake. You have to incorporate those SMARTIE goals. You can't just do the SMART part and leave off the IE, right? So it's very important that you add that inclusive piece and that equitable piece to the standard framework, and that you do that from the very beginning. Do that right now. Don't wait until later, because you will pay for it if you do it later. Include it now. And so what do I mean by when I say that? For example, when you set your enrollment goals, don't just say enroll 50 students. Make it a SMARTIE goal. Enroll 50 students by September, right? So that's that piece that makes it time bound. Ensuring our marketing reaches underserved neighborhoods, which is the inclusive piece, to reflect the diversity of our city, which is the equitable piece. So by embedding equity now, you avoid systemic injustice and create a stronger, more sustainable business model from the very beginning, from the very start. Being an aspiring owner is exciting. It really, really is. But don't let the excitement blind you from the reality. You need a way to match your will. So, to help you test your business idea before you spend a dime, I've created the Aspiring Owners Premortem AI prompt. This leverages the concept of the premortem, looking at a project failure before it happens to prevent it, right? So you look at it from the perspective that it could fail, and what would you put in place in order to prevent it. You can plug your current business goals into one of the search tools. Last time we used Chat GPT, but you can use Chat GPT, you can use Claude, you can use Gemini, you can use any of those, right? Any search tool you can also use for this. But what you want to do is plug that into that tool, and it will act as your paranoid optimist consultant, right? So remember earlier we talked about becoming a paranoid optimist. So we're going to use these search engines, right? These chat engines to become the paranoid optimist consultant for us. And so we're going to have them identify our planning fallacies and our uniqueness biases so that we can fix them now. And so I'll give you a small demonstration just to show you the prompt that you can just cut and paste it into whichever search engine that you would like to use. Of course, including your own personal goals, your own business plan, right? What you are looking to accomplish. And it will become that paranoid optimist consultant for you and will identify the things that we talked about, right? So it'll help you to plan for anything that could possibly go wrong so that you will be well prepared. Okay, so let us do it together. We're going to go through the sample very quickly. So I'm just going to go ahead here and just share my screen. And I'm just sharing here. And so the prompt that I'll share, the link to get you to this prompt, I'm going to have in the description box below. But once you go into it, you're gonna be able, this is what you'll see, right? So it is called the pre-mortem AI prompt because that is what we are working with, right? And so it gives you this is just the prompt itself. So what you would do is you will cut and paste this into whichever chat engine that you would like to use. So it would either be you can use chat gpt for that, you can use Claude for that. You could also use Copilot for that. You can also use Gemini for that, right? So you have many different options of what you can use, right? So for the purposes of this, I'm going to use ChatGPT for the demonstration. But first, let me just go through this with you so that you could see what the actual prompt says. So it says, act as a skeptical, expert early childhood education business consultant. I am going to paste my draft vision, mission, and 3 strategic goals for my new center below or for my existing center, whichever is relevant to you. Your goal is to conduct a pre-mortem. Imagine it is 2 years in the future and my business has failed. Based on the planning fallacy, which is underestimating the cost and the time, and the unique bias, which is thinking standard risks don't apply to me, tell me these two things, right? So this is what we wanted to analyze for us. Number one says the top 3 likely reasons I failed based on these specific goals. And then number 2 is how can I convert my current goals into SMARTIE goals, specific, measurable, ambitious, realistic, time bound, inclusive, and equitable, right? That's what the SMARTIE stands for, to prevent this failure. So here is my plan. And then what you do is you cut and paste in your plan, right? And so I did it prior to, just that you could see the type of information it can give you back. But what I'm going to show you is very, very condensed based on what it will kick back to you. But for the purposes of this, you'll just see what the example looks like. And so it tells you why this sample works for the premortem demonstration, right? And so the goals that I chose to put in, they did meet this criteria, right? It did have a lot of areas in there that would pretty much set me up for failure. And so it will kick back this information to you. So here it just kind of gives it to you as far as critiques. But when we put it in, you'll see it will give you a lot more information because we also did ask it to give us how to now implement or revise our goals so that they're SMARTIE goals to avoid those failures. And so, but here, this is just for sample, just for an example for you to see the type of information that we'll get back. So it says, when the AI, acting as the skeptical consultant, analyzes this, it should flag several planning fallacies based on the outside view, which is the base rate, right? So it says here, goal 1, this is the critique. And you'll see it as I put in my goals, right? So when we do it together and I cut and paste it, you'll see that these are responses directly to the goals that I chose. So it kicks back here. Goal number 1, critique. Reaching 100% capacity in 90 days is classic optimism bias. The base rate for new centers is typically 12 to 24 months to reach maturity. So that expectation of reaching 100% of capacity out of the gate is not as realistic, right? We should assign some time to it, but it certainly will take beyond the 90 days, right? Unless you do some really drastic things in the beginning. The second critique that it gives, expecting zero turnover in ECE, an industry where we usually have high churn, and finding 12 fully credentialed staff by day one when you open ignores the current staffing crisis, which is uniqueness bias, where you think that my center will be different from all the rest and it will not have the same issues or challenges that other programs have. And then the third critique here is profitability by month 4 is dangerous financial planning. Most centers do not break even for the first year due to initial cash burn. And so now you'll see, I'm going to take you over. You'll see exactly why it gave those. You'll see exactly why it gave those critiques, right? So then for the purpose of this, I'm going to chat GPT. And then I go in and just start a new chat. And then I'm going to cut and paste it here into the chat. And so then you see here, where it said, here is my plan that I showed you just on the presentation. I would remove that and then put in my plan, right? So that is exactly what you will do. But then this is what my information says, right? So I said, for my mission to provide high quality, nature-based early childhood education to 60 families in the West Side District, fostering environment stewardship. So remember, basically, we talked about having this nature-based early childhood program. And then the vision says to become the region's premier provider of eco-conscious education within 5 years. Okay, so mission and vision, that's good. But now we want to talk about what our strategic goals, what's going to get us there in year one. So we said that for number one, we wanted to have our enrollment. So our enrollment goal was to achieve 100% enrollment capacity, which is our complete 60 students within 90 days of opening, by utilizing social media marketing and word of mouth referrals, right? So we're talking about day one, or right within those 90 days, getting full enrollment, being 100% at our capacity for enrollment. And we're talking about only utilizing some social media and some word of mouth. It's not realistic. So you understand why the critique came back saying that it wasn't realistic. And then also for the staffing is saying that, and this is my goal, right? So my next goal is saying, I want to hire and train 12 fully credentialed lead qualified teachers by opening day. So on day one, ensuring zero staff turnover in the first 12 months by offering a positive work culture. And so it also kicked back the critique of that also not being realistic, because we know that we have a current issue or challenge just with staffing, and that is not just in your state, but nationally. So it is something that is a common and known struggle right now. So to have this type of a goal would mean that we're not we're not thinking about what has happened at the other programs, right? Our program is unique. We have that uniqueness bias. It's not going to happen to us. We'll be fine, right? So that, of course, again, is not realistic. And then not only do on day one do I want to have 12, all of my teachers, right, and have them with full credentials, I also want to ensure that there is 0% turnover for the first 12 months. That means no one is going anywhere. And so, and all I'm saying here is that I'm going to offer a positive work culture. So what exactly does that entail? Well, I'll be able to prevent that 0% of turnover. All right. Last one was achieve net profitability by month 4 of operations to begin funding the future scholarship reserve, right? So in year one, we're already talking about funding the reserve. We're not thinking about what could possibly happen, not planning no contingency plans for what may come along as we are going through licensing or as we are updating our program. So then there we just hit run, and then it will give us the information that we need. And so here you'll see it comes up with the information. So remember, we asked it for 3 likely reasons why we failed, looking at it from 2 years in the future. So it says here that failure reason number 1 is we ran out of cash before we ran out of vision, right? So that was that third one that where I said that we by month 4 would break even and be able to start saving for a scholarship. So we assumed that the profitability by month 4, that we would have profitability by month 4, but the real world brought slower enrollment, right? It didn't ramp up the way that we expected it to, had higher staffing costs, the higher insurance maintenance. So it tells you all the reasons why it did fail. And so that is the first reason, right? Because we ran out of cash. We didn't plan for all of those unexpected expenses. And so then it tells you where the goal caused it, right? It tells you some things that you could have included in the goal because of it not being realistic, right? So, and then it also gives you some early warning signs that you should have been able to see, but you ignored, which landed you in that particular predicament. And so number 2, the failure reason number 2 was your staffing plan was structurally unrealistic. So you're hiring of 12 fully credentialed lead teachers by opening day is hard in many markets, even for established centers, right? And then the zero turnover rate, as I mentioned. And then also, in addition to that, you wanted a nature-based, or I wanted, this is my example, right? I wanted a nature-based programming that nature-based programming that adds complexity. So that means having outdoor ratios, which means you need more staff and supervision, expectations and risk management, specialized training, parent communication, weather contingencies, right? So all of that really drastically impacts the staff. That means there's a lot more work that has to be done with the staff. You would prefer that you have staff that are at least experience to a certain extent with this type of environment or this type of programming, right? So there's things that you hadn't considered in that. And this also goes back to with the funding. Now, if you're talking about having this nature program, then of course you didn't factor in that you have to buy, special outdoor equipment, that you want to have different areas in your outdoor space to make it this nature-based program, right? So those are things that you have to also take into consideration. So when we're going back to this with the staffing issue, where the goal caused it. So you measure success by perfect outcomes instead of controllable systems. So not saying that these things are impossible to reach, but it just means that you have to plan appropriately to get you where you want to be. And then you need to have SMARTIE goals that really, really support you in reaching or taking these steps towards your goal. And then how this kills the center. You could have chronic understaffing, classroom closures, and parent distrust, right? It just is a spiraling effect when you're not able to get the teachers in place the way you want to, right? So with this staffing, the goals caused it because we didn't build in anything that talked about recruitment funnels. We also did not talk about onboarding quality, right? How do we want to make sure that we don't have that turnover? Also, the compensation competitiveness, we didn't talk about that, right? So we didn't build in any of those things. However, we're talking about from day 1, we're going to be fully staffed, and for 12 months, there will be no turnover in our program. And so then the last reason that it gives us is that you built a premium brand promise with an operations reality gap. So what happens? Your high quality, nature-based, emotionally resilient, inclusive, safe is a lot of promises. Having this type of information or wanting to do this type of program, you give a lot of promises up front, and then parents will hold you to those promises, right? So if you say you're going to deliver, you have to deliver on what you say. And so if your program quality or your communication or your safety protocols and teaching consistency, if it's not what you promised, right, it's going to be a problem. So it damages your reputation, and that spreads faster than any referral or any type of marketing that you can do. So you want to be very, very cognizant of how we do our goals, right? What we choose. So it says where the goals cause this failure is that we bet on just social media and word of mouth to fill our enrollment, right? That's all we decided that we were going to do. And we did not talk about other things that we could put in place to ensure that we are able to get that information out and let everyone know that this is a wonderful program coming to your area. And so it does have that unique bias. Our program is special. The market will respond immediately because I haven't heard of any other program out there like mine, right? So that's having that uniqueness bias. Is it really realistic? And then it tells you also what the failure looked like. So, but then we also asked it, help me to convert my goals into SMARTIE goals that has that failure proof built into it. And so then it gives you all of these examples to do for your enrollment. It tells you to make sure that it's specific, measurable, and time bound. By day 90 post opening, reach 90% average daily enrollment, right? So that's 54 of the 60, a little bit easier, right? Not as big, but and then by day 180, then you reach 100% of enrollment with a wait list of 15 qualified families, right? But that so that makes it's ambitious, but it does make it realistic. So this keeps your ambition, but removes the all or nothing cliff in the first 90 days. And so the inclusive and equitable part is by day 180, you ensure that 30% of the enrolled families meet your defined income eligibility, and admissions includes a transparent, bias-resistant process, right? So a special process there where that's standardized. You have a tour script, you have a rubric, you have a lottery with priority rules. So you have all of these things that you're putting in place, and then your marketing, you beef that up to where you have at least 6 community channels serving low income families. So you're doing that work already, having those partnerships, and that can include other CBOs, housing organizations, your WIC and your SNAP offices, your libraries, your family center shelters, workforce programs, right? So, and the list goes on and on, but you already form these different partnerships so you can do outreach to them, right? So you see how that's different and just saying it's just going to be word of mouth and just put some posts on social media. So it talks about how to really build out this information or your goals to avoid any types of failure. And so then it gives you the leading indicators, it gives you your weekly minimums, what you're looking for, how you're tracking it, and using that data to inform your next steps, right? So it gives you that, and I'm not going to go for the purposes of time, but it goes on. And so it tells you the same thing. How do you make that staffing goal? SMARTIE, right? So if you put in that prompt and paste in your information, it will kick back something to you that is very, very specific to what you put in, and it'll help you rewrite those SMARTIE goals, right? And then also here, this was my third one, right? So it helps to make it failure proof. And then it will also come up, it always comes up with more options to ask you, would you like to do this, or would you like to pursue this, or expand it in this way, right? So it has so many different things. But putting in this prompt could help you look at, and it would be wonderful if you don't have any of those types of fallacies that will come up in your goals, right? But you want to make sure that you do put it into here. And so you want to make sure that you failure proof your program. So this prompt will help you to do that. And it doesn't have to be just the top 3. That was the prompt that we put in, but you can put in however many, or you can say put in all of the things that cause the program to fail, right? That we said the top 3, so you can say all. And so it would, depending on the information that you want, but this will serve as a great tool to be able to give you that information. And if you have a question about something, you can question it, right? Like I see that you said here that the labor costs are below, a certain percent of the revenue. What does that need to be? You can have it give you the information. And so you can have it do so many different things for you. But this is a wonderful tool, and it takes less time. It took me longer to explain it to you and to walk you through it and to read some of the answers than it takes to actually get this chat engine to actually give you this information. It only takes moments, and you can go back and forth to get it to where you need it to be. I hope this was helpful. You can check the show notes for the prompt. And so, although we've done it together, I have included the prompt for you as well. So, the link will be in the description box or the show notes below. And you'll be able to access that prompt yourself. And you can go back and forth. I love to challenge whatever tool I'm asking. You can challenge the tool and say, well, I don't see it from that perspective, or say more. I need you to do better, right? Tell it to do better. It can do better. So you want to put the prompt into that and see what it gives you, but it will help you to prepare and to even revise your business plan so that you can have some things in place, right? As far as time, as far as money, all of those things, it can help you to be better prepared. And so also in the description, I included a link to the SMARTIE goals. It's called the SMARTIE goals reference sheet. And so that is made for you just so that it can give you the flow kind of what the SMARTIE goals look like, right? Just as a reminder, so you can have that and use it also. So that is a free tool also to just kind of share to you. But as you're working through this with your prompt, it will definitely help you to be prepared, because we know we have to go through the regular things, right? We have to go through the licensing, of course, finding the space, finding the staff, making sure that it is compliant, right? Checking off all those boxes. And so at a later date, we will talk more about that, and we will provide some checklists and all of that, those sorts of things. And if you do need further support, we do help in our consultation. We do help you walk step by step with you to open up your own program. So if that's something you're interested in, you can also book a strategy call, which is a free 30-minute call with me to talk more about it, to see if this is something that you really want to pursue, if it's something that you're ready to do now, or maybe you're just thinking about it, right? But becoming an owner yourself is a wonderful, wonderful thing to do, especially if that's a part of your goals, right? Everyone may not want to do that. But if that is what your goal is, you can certainly achieve it. And we're here to support you. So most importantly, we don't want you to just build a daycare. We want you to build a legacy. And so remember that. And so until I see you again next week, go and be great.